Hey everyone, welcome to this tutorial on how to automate the process of creating invoices based on data submitted through a Typeform. This process is also useful if you're looking for a way to collect payments from your clients using a range of different payment gateways that Typeform does not directly integrate with. To begin, let's set up a Typeform that will allow our clients to submit a request to purchase one of the products or services we might be offering. For this example, we will keep the form simple and only have fields to collect the client's full name, email address, and service they would like to buy. Depending on how complex your business is and how much data you would like to collect from your client before generating an invoice, you can extend the form accordingly. Next, you need to set up an invoice generator app, which will be used to generate invoices whenever a form is submitted. For this example, we will use an app called Zoho Invoice, which is easy and free to get started with. However, feel free to experiment with any other invoice generator app of your choice, such as Xero or QuickBooks. Once you have your Zoho Invoice account created, navigate over to the Items page to create the good or service you would like to sell. On the New Item page, specify the type of the item and give it a name. Please make sure that the names of these items are the same as the ones you have specified on Typeform. This will allow you to link the Typeform Service Goods field with the equivalent Zoho Invoice item when generating the invoice. Finally, enter a description for it and a selling price. Once you have all your items configured, the next step is to connect your Zoho Invoice account with a payment gateway of your choice to enable your clients to easily pay their invoices. To do so, navigate over to the Online Payments Settings page. As you can see, Zoho Invoice makes it very easy to connect to a range of payment gateways such as Stripe, PayPal, Square, Braintree, and 2Checkout. For many Typeform users, this is a valuable extension since Typeform can only be integrated with Stripe at this stage. Simply click on the Setup Now button and follow the steps to connect your chosen payment gateway. Once you do that, you're all set to go. It's now time to connect Typeform with Zoho Invoice and automate this workflow. To achieve this, you first need to sign up for a free Integromat account. Once you do so, click on the Create a New Scenario button on your dashboard. Click Skip to proceed. Your scenario needs to begin with the Trigger module, which will monitor all the form submissions received from your Typeform. Simply search for the Typeform app and then select the Watch Responses module. Click to add it to your scenario. The first part is to create a connection with your Typeform account, so click on the Add button next to the connection field to begin with the connection process. Now follow the steps and log into your Typeform account to establish a connection. Once your connection is established, enter the number of new form submissions you would like to receive each time this scenario is executed. You can set this to be a high number to make sure that all new form submissions are received. In the Form ID field, select the form you will be receiving these submissions from. Next, you need to specify which field data you would like to retrieve from each submission. As you can see, our example form has 3 fields, and since they're all important for the creation of the invoice, we will add all 3. Finally, click the Yes option under Completed to make sure that this module only receives the form submissions that have been completed. And that concludes the configuration for the first module of this scenario. You're now able to retrieve the submissions that your clients make on Typeform. Next, you need to instruct Zoho Invoice to create a new contact with the client's information. Without a new contact, you will not be able to generate an invoice. Add a new module to your scenario and search for the Zoho Invoice app. Select the Create a Contact module. Once again, the first thing you need to do is establish a connection with your Zoho Invoice account. click on the Add button and enter your organization ID, which can be obtained by clicking on the profile icon on your Zoho Invoice account. Now log in and follow the steps to establish a connection. Great. To create a new contact, you first have to specify their name. Since we want this process to happen automatically, we need to map the full name data element we have retrieved from the Typeform module earlier. To do this, click on the contact name field, and on the window that pops up, click on the full name data element to add it to the field. Next, select the currency you would like your invoices to have. This can be different from your Zoho account base currency. Finally, scroll all the way down to find the contact persons field. Here you need to add a new item and once again map the required data elements from the Typeform module. This module is now ready. Next, you need to add another module that will find the Zoho Invoice item that corresponds to the one that the client has selected on Typeform. To achieve this, you need to select the List Items module. On the List Items module configuration window, you now need to create a filter that will find the Zoho Invoice item that has an equivalent name to the one that the client has selected on Typeform. In the first field of the filter, choose Name. For the field Operation, select Equal to. Finally, for the second field of the filter, you need to map the service data element from the Typeform module. This module is now ready. The next step is to create the invoice with all the data the scenario has gathered so far. To do this, attach the Zoho Invoice Create an Invoice module to your scenario. The first step to configuring this module is mapping the data element that contains the ID of the customer that the scenario has generated earlier on. To do this, select the Map option next to the field. And then map the contact ID data element from the Create a Contact module. Next, you need to add a contact person that will receive this invoice when it's created. If you remember, this is something that was created in the Create a Contact module earlier on. So the contact person ID data element can be mapped from the Create a Contact module. Next, you need to add the item you would like to include on the invoice. Under Line Items, click Add Item. Proceed to map the item ID and rate data element from the List Items module you have previously configured. Finally, in the quantity field, enter 1 unless you have a field in your Typeform that enables the client to enter a quantity. Next, for the Send option, you can select Yes if you would like the invoice to be sent to your client once it is generated. If you select No, then the invoice will be created as a draft and you will be able to send it manually at a later stage. For the Ignore Auto Number Generation option, select No. This will make sure that each invoice is given a unique number. Finally, scroll down to the Date field. Click on it and select the Now data element from the Date and Time tab on the pop-up window. This will make sure that the invoice is due as soon as it is created. This module is now configured. The last step of this scenario is to enable your configured payment gateway on the created invoice. To do this, attach the Zoho Invoice Update an Invoice module. Once again, you will have to map the contact ID data element received from the Create a Contact module inside the Customer ID field. You will then need to map the Invoice ID data element retrieved from the Create an Invoice field. And finally, you need to scroll all the way down to the payment options field and click the Add Item button to set up your payment gateway. Since you have already configured your payment gateway at the start of this tutorial, you need to select Yes under Configured. For additional field, you need to select Standard. And finally, in the last field, choose the payment gateway you have configured and want to use on your invoices. Keep in mind that you can repeat the same process again to add multiple payment gateways if you wish your clients to have more payment options. If you've made it this far, congratulations, your scenario is now ready. But now you need to save your scenario and execute it once to see if it works. Before you execute it though, you have to submit some example data to your newly created Typeform. Great, now we'll go ahead and execute this scenario once. The scenario has been successfully executed. As you can see on the Zoho Invoice app, under the Invoices section, there is now a new invoice created. If I check my email inbox, you can see that I received an email with the invoice. Since I connected the PayPal payment gateway with my Zoho Invoice account, the invoice I received also has a payment button which I can click to pay with PayPal. And there you have it. That's how you can build an Integromat workflow to automate the creation of an invoice every time a client fills out your Typeform. The last step is to switch this scenario to on so it automatically gets executed every time your Typeform receives new submissions. Please note that with Integromat, you can also connect Typeform with your payment gateways directly through their dedicated apps and automate a range of different processes such as activating membership plans, creating orders, listing payments, and lots more. Thank you for watching and happy automating.